Welcome to the second video. This is about question 2 from the ToK exams in May 2016. It's the question about natural selection in the development of knowledge within a discipline. The aim of this video is that it's an introduction or an overview to the written blog. It's just a quick way into the written blog. More details and real-life examples are given in the written blog, so I advise you to read that. Don't rely too much upon this video and the written blog. You should discuss the essay with your ToK teacher and use your own sources. I don't want to get a DRM takedown notice from the IB, so I'm not printing the exact question here. You need to get the exact question from your teacher. This essay has in the title this concept of natural selection as developed by Darwin and other biologists. Inside the concept of natural selection are a number of processes that we could use in our essay. Things like the importance of variance, different types of selection, adaptation and fitness. All of these things could be used to understand how knowledge develops. But don't get too bogged down in trying to define natural selection at the beginning of the essay. Remember, this is a ToK essay, it's not a biology essay. So a general definition with the processes explained is enough. The question asks how useful the metaphor of natural selection is in knowledge development. Therefore, you might want to consider the utility of the metaphor as you write your essay. At the heart of this essay is the knowledge framework. I would place the knowledge framework at the centre. I would base the essay around this. The knowledge framework describes and explains how knowledge is understood and developed within an area of knowledge. This question specifies knowledge development within a discipline. And one way to define a discipline is the set of ideas established using a specific methodology in relation to a particular area of knowledge. As such, the knowledge framework is vital to the essay. The knowledge framework will help you to explain how knowledge is developed within a discipline, and then to decide whether natural selection is a useful metaphor to explain that process of development. Natural selection implies selection of the best adapted to a specific habitat. And when this metaphor is applied to knowledge, there are a number of possible assumptions. The first of which is adapted for what? Does the metaphor imply that selected knowledge is best adapted for need? And if so, what needs? These could be social needs, economic needs, psychological or other needs. Further, if selected knowledge is that best adapted for need, then whose needs is it adapting for, as needs vary by the individual. It could be useful to look at the needs of a minority in comparison to a majority, and further explore when minority needs-based knowledge develops into majority belief systems. There are real-life examples of this given in my blog post. Knowledge is provisional and contextual. That is that what is accepted knowledge changes according to the situation and the experiences of the knower. Further, the interpretation of knowledge changes according to the context in which it's presented. A real-life example of this is the knowledge concerning the causes of the plague or the Black Death in London in the 14th century. First of all, people said that it was religious or something that was religious. Then it was explained as being bad gases which were emanating from the banks of the River Thames. Then people started to think it was caused by rats, and today we understand that it was a bacteria that was living inside the fleas that were living on the rats. Have you seen the film The Truman Show? If not, then I recommend it. It's a very ToK type film. In biological sciences, natural selection happens because there's an environment or a habitat external to the species, which the species has little control over. And then if we apply that natural selection process to knowledge, we could be implying similarly that there's an external reality beyond our control to which our knowledge must adapt. Now, I know this argument seems a little superficial, but without an external reality to which knowledge has to adapt to, then we come back to the central question: what's the criteria for selection? And more so, what's the driver or function of that selection? Moving on. What's so natural about the natural selection of knowledge? The metaphor seems to imply that there's some sort of uninterfered with natural process by which the best ideas become the accepted shared knowledge of a society or a group. What we actually know, there's huge interference in the selection of knowledge. Examples of the interference in the selection of knowledge are status groups, powerful groups who are powerful by their economic power or their access to the media, so-called gatekeepers, the historical antecedents of access to knowledge and access to knowledge distributors. It's just a starting point, but it shows that maybe there isn't such a natural process in the selection of knowledge. Finally, let's come back to the start of this essay. The essay asks you to make some judgment as to how useful the metaphor of natural selection is. So you need to say something about the use of this metaphor in explaining knowledge development within a discipline. I think there are some key things there. Within a discipline, it's about how you define a discipline. A discipline could be the set of methodologies used to produce or construct knowledge. It could also be the focus of investigation or exploration. It's probably a combination of the two, but you're going to find the definition of utility of metaphor within the process of the construction of knowledge within the discipline. Secondly, in coming up with some criteria for use, then you're going to have to say something about what the function of knowledge is. And only when you've got those two things, the way in which knowledge is created and the function of knowledge itself, are you able to comment upon whether natural selection is a useful metaphor or not. Okay, I hope that gives you an overview of this essay. If you want to know more, read the blog that I've posted there and enjoy your ToK writing.